Welcome to the Depth Dive. We find those super focused notes and pull out the key efficiency hacks for you if you want to get up to speed quickly. Well, this is definitely for you. Today, we're diving into a pretty niche part of fish keeping, actually. It's about aquatic gardening and a clever organizational trick. We've been looking at Notes of Fish Keeping, part 59, growing water sprite in pot. And our mission really is to figure out how this one small change potting a plant that usually just floats around kind of revolutionized things for the author, turning a chore into something sustainable. What really caught my eye first was how honest the author was. Years in the hobby, right?
Decades, maybe.
And they said they were quite surprising, their words, that this super simple idea just hadn't clicked sooner. The light bulb moment. It wasn't even from their own setup. It came from seeing a photo, completely unrelated, some other potted water plant.
Yeah, that's such a great example of, how expertise can sometimes give you blinkers. You get so used to one way, like Water Sprite, Ceratopterus salixoides. It floats. That's what it does. So you don't really question the messiness, maybe, the logistics of it just floating freely. And the solution, like here, often comes from borrowing an idea from somewhere totally different, like basic container gardening almost.
Okay, let's unpack that shift then. The author notes they were really deep into fish keeping, fish breeding for years. That takes a ton of time, right? Water changes, genetics, feeding.
Oh, absolutely. It's consuming.
So why suddenly zoom in on the plants? What made them realize the plants needed, well, structured attention?
I think it was realizing the system wasn't really truly balanced. They mentioned trying before, but basically neglecting to really investigate various aquatic plant species.
Yeah.
The fish were the main event, the indulgence, as they put it. So the plants were just sort of there, accessories. But ignored plants can cause problems, right? They become unstable, not helpful. And that neglect, it shows up as extra work, hidden work. When water sprite just grows wild on the surface, it forms this really dense mat.
Okay.
Blocks light, sure, but worse, the bits underneath start to die off. And that decaying stuff goes right into the water.
Ah, so they were fighting water quality issues.
Exactly. Issues potentially caused by their own neglected, messy plants. Potting offered a way out of that cycle.
And the specific container they suggest really highlights the efficiency angle, not fancy pods.
No, not at all.
They mention using the plastic ones used in hydroponics. Cheap and cheerful.
And that's key, isn't it? It's practical. Low cost, easy to find. Hydroponic pots are designed for function. They give stability, make sure roots get water and air, but without holding on to tons of soil or substrate. So using this standard engineered thing immediately brings structure to what was organic chaos before, scalable structure.
But wait a second. Water sprite naturally floats. Isn't potting it, kind of? Forcing it? Fighting nature? What were the actual, day-to-day frustrations the author was trying to fix by putting this free spirit in a pot?
Well, the sheer work involved in managing the sprawl, mostly, and the decay. If you let water sprite just go wild, floating everywhere, you're constantly dealing with a tangled mess.
Right.
The problems are, well, numerous. Bits break off, jam up filter intakes. You can't easily get in there to trim the old dying leaves, and the whole mass just shifts around, blocking the surface where you need to see or feed the fish. It's just messy.
Okay, I see.
Potting gives you immediate boundaries, restricted confines, as the source says, and that lets the keeper carefully monitor and control the plant's growth. You can see the roots, pull out old leaves easily. You know exactly where that plant is.
And for you listening, always thinking about maximizing efficiency in space, this potting idea seems like a smart resource management solution.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's not just stopping the surface takeover. Potting lets you use spots that were basically useless before. Those deep corners in an outdoor pond. Maybe enough light and depth, but floating plants just bunch up somewhere else, stick a pot there. Suddenly that available and underutilized space is growing something useful. It makes the whole setup much more organized.
So the plant goes from being this unpredictable floater to a modular unit.
Exactly. A component. And that modularity gives you mobility. That's a huge plus people might overlook. If you need to treat the fish or clean out one pond, you can just move the plant, lift the pot, put it somewhere else.
Way easier than trying to scoop up a huge floating mat.
Oh, much easier.
Yeah.
And less damaging to the plant, too. You avoid untangling and breaking it all up. It's a clear logistical win.
Okay, the organizational stuff, the control, the efficiency, the mobility, that's all crystal clear. But let's dig into that ecological synergy part. The author talks about using the fish as natural gardeners. How does putting the plant in a pot actually help the fish be better gardeners? Seems counterintuitive.
Well, it's about how the structure, the pot itself, changes the interaction. When the plant's just floating, the roots are all over the place, kind of exposed. Fish might nibble, but it's haphazard.
Okay.
But in the pot, the water sprite grows a solid, stable root ball in whatever substrate you use. That stability means the fish can browse around the base safely. They can eat little bits of algae, maybe trim off tiny dead ends.
Without ripping the whole thing up.
Exactly, they're doing controlled grazing. So microgardening, tidying up.
So the pot anchors the plant, turning the fish into more precise little helpers instead of just random grazers. And it works the other way too, right? The whole waste is fertilizer thing.
Precisely. Fish waste is full of nitrogen, which plants love.
Yeah.
When the plant is potted, that waste gets concentrated right around the roots. Much better than when it's diluted across the whole pond surface for a floating plant.
So the plant becomes a super efficient filter right where the fertilizer is being produced?
Yes, it's pulling those potential pollutants out of the water much more effectively because it's anchored in that nutrient hotspot. This contained growth makes the whole symbiotic relationship more reliable. The plant gets fed consistently, the fish have a stable structure to interact with, and crucially, it reduces the chance of large chunks of the plant just decaying randomly in the water, which takes the load off your main filter system. Better water quality, healthier fish.
It really comes back to that core idea, doesn't it? It's not really about the plant itself, but about applying design thinking. Confinement leads to control. The author figured out that managing something growing totally wild and free is just inherently inefficient.
And that shift changes the whole game. It moves fish keeping away from just being an indulgence focused only on the fish towards building an integrated, efficient little ecosystem. You stop just reacting to the problems caused by messy growth, and instead you structure things to prevent the problems in the first place. Proactive, not reactive.
So for you, the listener, what's the big takeaway here? Even if you don't keep fish or water plants, it's a really potent lesson, I think, in applying structured, almost, well, engineered thinking, like using a cheap hydroponic pot to a messy natural system, all to gain control and predictability.
Yeah, the main points are organization matters. Chaos costs you time and effort. Structure brings efficiency. And always look for ways to integrate. How can you use the existing elements in your system, whether it's fish or staff or software tools, whatever, to do necessary jobs like gardening or maintenance? But, and this is the key from the source, they can only do that job well if you provide the right structure first.
Right. The author clearly found this worked wonders for Water Sprite, and they explicitly said the next step is trying it with other aquatic plants they'd previously neglected.
Which brings us nicely to that final thought for you to chew on. If a simple, cheap structural change, a plastic pot, could totally change the game for managing something as unruly as floating water sprite, what other neglected, maybe free-floating or disorganized elements exist in your world, your work, your home life? Where could applying a simple structural constraint, a little bit of organized confinement, unlock a whole lot more control and efficiency? Where's your water sprite waiting for a metaphorical pot?